Welcome back to the Coin Lover and Treasure Hunters. Today, we're uncovering some of the most valuable Australian 1-cent coins ever minted. The rare 1978, 1980 and 1988 coins. These tiny copper coins might seem ordinary, but in the world of collectors they're worth big money. Stay tuned as we show you how to spot them, what makes them valuable, and how much they could be worth today. Let's get started. First up, the Australian 1-cent coin dated 1978 without any mint mark holds a quiet yet fascinating place in the world of numismatics because it represents an era when copper coins circulated freely through every Australian town, and because collectors today look back with curiosity how many pieces survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, and how the market now examines qualities such as original mint luster, preservation of design elements, and the subtle differences between average uncirculated examples and those that stand out through exceptional appeal. This coin carries the iconic image of the feathertail glider sculpted by Stuart Devlin, and this tiny creature has become deeply associated with the Australian bronze coin series, and many collectors often speak of the charm of this design because it ties the nation's wildlife to its everyday money. And in 1978, millions of these coins were struck at the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. Though the absence of a mint mark is entirely normal for Australian decimal coins from that era, yet individuals today still search for pieces that remain untouched by circulation and exposure. When discussing the value of a 1978 Australian 1-cent coin, uncirculated condition, collectors often consider a wide range of factors, including surface brilliance, the intensity of the original orange-red copper tone, any hints of brown toning, the strength of the strike, and whether the coin has accumulated even the slightest contact marks from handling. And in many cases, a typical uncirculated example may retail for a modest price, such as between $2 and $10 Australian dollars, while exceptional pieces with superior luster and clarity can fetch a little more depending on grading standards and beer interest. Although the 1-cent coin was once produced in massive numbers, its withdrawal from circulation in the early 1990s created a shift in public perception, and people gradually began to appreciate these small copper pieces not only as units of currency but as nostalgic relics from a period in Australian monetary history. And over time, collectors turned their attention toward building date sets, quality sets, and condition-focused sets, which in turn allowed humble the lack of a mint mark on the 1978 Australian 1-cent coin sometimes raises questions among beginner collectors who wonder if this absence constitutes an error, variety, or rarity, and the answer is that it does not, because standard business strike Australian decimal coins from the Royal Australian Mint typically carry no mint mark, and therefore the value of such a coin in uncirculated condition derives solely from its state of preservation, scarcity of high-grade surviving pieces, and the appeal it holds within a complete series collection. In creating a video script that will engage viewers for approximately 30 minutes, one might expand the story behind this copper coin by examining the broader context of Australian economic conditions during the late 1970s, the shift from pre-decimal to decimal currency earlier in the decade, and the ways in which small denomination bronze coins played a role in everyday life, from pocket money to retail transactions. And these reflections help remind modern audiences that even minor coins carry historical significance. It can also be beneficial for the video to explore how uncirculated coins are preserved and why proper storage techniques matter, especially for copper coins, which are susceptible to darkening, spotting, and environmental reactions. And collectors often use protective holders, acid-free storage environments, and desiccants to maintain the appearance of coins like the 1978 1-cent example. And discussing these methods in detail will provide viewers with insights that can elevate their understanding of numismatic care and long-term value retention. Another point worth sharing with the audience is how grading services and collector communities evaluate small copper coins, and how subtle differences such as strike quality, glossy or matte surfaces, or tiny imperfections can influence desirability and pricing. And by presenting comparisons between average uncirculated coins, higher grade specimens, and brilliantly lustrous examples, the video can help Newcomers visually identify features that determine whether a 1978 1-cent coin stands out within the marketplace. The script can then shift toward exploring stories of collectors who began their numismatic journey with low-value copper coins and, eventually, developed a deeper appreciation for the art, design, and cultural heritage embedded within Australian currency, and highlighting such narratives will help viewers understand why even a coin with a modest monetary value can still carry emotional and historical importance, and why many enthusiasts consider every coin a miniature time capsule reflecting the year of its creation. Finally, the video can conclude by encouraging viewers to examine their own collections, search through inherited coin jars, or explore local coin shops and online communities to find uncirculated copper coins, including the 1978 1-cent piece, and by sharing knowledge about authenticity, handling, storage, and value assessment, the script can inspire both beginners and seasoned collectors to continue their numismatic exploration and appreciate the role these small coins played in preserving the story of Australia's economic and artistic heritage. Next up, the Australian 1-cent coin from 1980 without mint mark, presented in pristine, uncirculated condition. And throughout this long-form exploration we will dive into the origins, economic context, design features, metal composition, and numismatic appeal of this small yet historically meaningful coin, while expanding far beyond basic details to give you a 40-minute style narrative meant to fully immerse you in the world of numismatic discovery and appreciation for the humble copper coin that once clinked in pockets across Australia. To begin understanding the story of the 1980 Australian 1-cent coin, it is essential to step back into the broader evolution of Australian currency as the nation transitioned from the predecimal system to the decimal era, introduced in 1966, bringing with it a new range of denominations and designs, and among these the 1-cent coin carried deep symbolic value in representing the smallest unit of the new system, which meant that millions were minted and released for circulation, making circulated examples extremely common, but uncirculated examples, especially ones preserved carefully from the year 1980, gained their significance through condition. The design of this coin, crafted by Stuart Devlin, features the iconic feather-tail glider, also known as the pygmy glider, a small and charming Australian creature that quickly became a beloved feature of the National Currency series. And this intricate artwork on such a small surface required masterful skill and precision, making the coin not only a medium of exchange, but also a miniature piece of art. And when this artwork is preserved in uncirculated condition with crisp details, lustrous surfaces, and minimal imperfections, the coin gains even greater desirability among collectors who value original mint state characteristics. The absence of a mint mark on the 1980 Australian 1-cent coin signifies that it was produced by the Royal Australian Mint located in Canberra, which traditionally did not include mint marks on regular circulating coinage. And while this does not automatically make the coin rare, the importance lies in surviving examples that remain untouched by circulation, since most coins quickly enter daily use and endure where scratches, environmental exposure, and loss of luster, leaving only a smaller fraction preserved by collectors or accidentally saved in stored roll sets, or that coin valuation depends on condition, demand, metal composition, and collector market trends rather than any intrinsic precious metal content. Since the 1-1 coin is made primarily of copper, what elevates a 1980 uncirculated example to a more desirable tier is the preservation of its brilliant surfaces and the charm of possessing a historical object that has escaped the wear of everyday life. And while most examples in average state may be worth only a small amount, truly uncirculated pieces can appeal to buyers seeking high-grade examples for album completion, educational displays, or long-term collecting enjoyment. Understanding the cultural and historical context also enhances the appreciation for this coin, since the early 1980s South in Australia was a period of economic and technological development, and the copper 1-cent coin played a role in everyday transactions, representing affordability, access, and the practical function of small denomination change. And over time, as inflation grew and currency systems modernized, the eventual withdrawal of 1 and 2 cent coins in 1992 caused surviving examples to migrate from circulation into jars, drawers, and Eventually numismatic collections, where pieces in superior condition gained recognition for their preserved historical snapshot of Australian daily. When examining an uncirculated 1980 example, the qualities that collectors highlight include smooth surfaces, original mint luster, sharp strike definition, and the absence of dense nicks or discoloration. And these traits collectively determine the grade, which in turn influences the value and desirability of the coin. And although grading services exist, many collectors enjoy personal assessment using magnification and lighting to observe the delicate contours of the feathertail glider, the numeral 1, and the lettering that forms the legend of the coin, all of which tell a story of meticulous minting and careful preservation. One of the most engaging aspects of numismatics is the narrative that forms behind each coin, and the Australian 1-cent piece from 1980 offers a bridge to memories of past decades, allowing enthusiasts to reflect on changes in pricing, technology, architecture, fashion, and national spirit, all while holding a tangible artifact of that era. And this emotional connection often enhances value beyond monetary measurement, because collectors view such coins not merely as metal discs, but as storytellers conveying moments of everyday. For those beginning their collecting journey, the 1980 uncirculated 1-cent coin offers an accessible and educational gateway into the numismatic world, allowing new enthusiasts to learn grading, handling, storage, and historical research without requiring large financial investment. And this encourages passion, curiosity, and the desire to expand into more complex areas of collecting, whether through full decimal sets, mint marked issues, proof coins, commemoratives, or rare varieties, thereby establishing a strong. As we conclude this extended exploration of the Australian 1-cent coin from 1980 without mint mark in uncirculated condition, it becomes clear that its worth extends far beyond simple monetary valuation and instead encompasses heritage, artistry, preservation, and personal connection. And with every feature from its detailed design to its copper composition to its role in Australian economic history, this small coin represents a legacy greater than its original face value, reminding collectors and viewers alike that even the smallest denomination can hold immense storytelling power when examined through the lens of numismatic appreciation. Next up, the Australian 1-cent coin of 1988 without mint mark in uncirculated condition is a coin that attracts deep interest among collectors because it represents an era of transition in Australian coinage, and because the absence of a mint mark creates a sense of rarity and intrigue that motivates hobbyists to look more closely at the history, design, and production of this small yet culturally significant piece. And in this extended discussion, we will explore why collectors care about this particular coin, how its value has evolved, and why uncirculated examples generate so much excitement, especially among those who seek to understand the finer details of Australian decimal currency. And as we begin this long, detailed journey, I welcome viewers to stay through the entire exploration and consider subscribing to the channel for more long-form numismatic content that dives deep into history, rarity, and collector insights. To appreciate the 1988 Australian 1-cent coin without mint mark in uncirculated condition, we must step back to understand the broader context of Australian 1-cent coins, which were first introduced in 1966 and featured the iconic image of the feathertail glider by Stuart Devlin, a design cherished by collectors for its artistic representation of Australian wildlife. And although millions were produced over the decades, the later years of production saw shifts in minting practices, including production for collectors and sets rather than general circulation, which is part of the reason why 1988 examples can be confusing for new collectors, especially when a coin has no mint mark, leading to speculation about how rare it truly is and why it matters to the numismatic community. When discussing coins without mint marks, it is important to know that the Royal Australian Mint traditionally does not place mint marks on coins produced for circulation, so the phrase without mint mark can sometimes cause misunderstanding, since most 1-cent coins were struck without any mint mark at all. And the real question becomes whether the 1988 issue was struck in sufficient numbers to be considered common, or whether uncirculated examples are limited, making them more desirable, and collectors often debate this because many 1988 1-cent coins were minted for inclusion in mint sets rather than for normal circulation, which means uncirculated versions are more commonly found in sets and less often found loose in the wild, leading to a tiered value system based on condition, packaging, and provenance. In uncirculated condition, the 1988 Australian 1-cent coin without mint mark can appeal strongly to collectors because of the shine, luster, and sharp detail preserved from the moment of minting, and these qualities elevate the coin from a simple historical object to a more treasured collectible, and part of the fascination comes from the fact that 1-cent coins were eventually withdrawn from circulation beginning in the early 1990s, which led many Australians to overlook these coins for years before realizing their potential numismatic value, and as awareness increased, so did demand, especially for pristine examples from significant years like 1988. Now we turn to the question that matters greatly to collectors, which is the value of the Australian 1-cent coin 1988 without mint mark in uncirculated condition. And although values fluctuate based on market interest, availability, and grading standards, many uncirculated examples are sought after by collectors building full-year sets, and some may command modest premiums above face value, especially if sourced from mint sets with intact packaging and the rarity is not extreme. But uncirculated condition always makes a difference because high-grade examples remain a small portion of the entire population, and collectors know that long-term value often rests on preserving coins at the highest possible standard. Another important aspect for this coin is the collector psychology behind small denomination coins, since coins like the 1-cent piece evoke nostalgia and cultural memory from the decades when Australians use these coins daily, and this sentiment adds a layer of personal value that sometimes enhances demand. And when combined with the fact that the 1988 year holds national importance because it marked the Australian bicentenary, interest in coins from this year tends to increase, and owning an uncirculated coin from that era feels like owning a tiny preserved piece of national history, which can be appealing even to non-collectors who are discovering the hobby for the first time. The educational value of this coin should also be highlighted, since it offers an excellent chance for collectors to study minting qualities, including die strikes, planchet surfaces, and luster patterns that only appear clearly on uncirculated coins. And those studying for numismatic grading exams often use coins like the 1988 1-cent as examples because the small size makes imperfections more noticeable and encourages the eye to train itself on the slightest variations. And this is why many advanced collectors still value low denomination coins, because they provide deeper insights into the precision and craftsmanship of minting technology. For those considering whether to invest in or collect the 1988 Australian 1-cent coin in uncirculated condition, it is useful to understand that future value is influenced not only by rarity, but also by collector interest, cultural significance, and the preservation of available specimens. And while it is not a coin expected to surge dramatically in price overnight, it remains a steady and meaningful collectible with long-term potential, especially for those who build comprehensive sets and to appreciate the historical narrative of Australia phasing out smaller coins while transitioning into newer currency system. As we move deeper into the motivations of collectors, it becomes clear that coins like this one help connect people to the past, providing a sense of continuity between generations. And many collectors start by discovering coins in family drawers or inherited collections, and then begin building their own curated assortments. And the 1988 1-cent without mint mark in uncirculated condition often becomes one of those foundational pieces because it is accessible, affordable, and visually appealing, while still offering the depth of study and historical engagement that makes numismatics such a meaningful hobby for so many people across the world. Before closing this long exploration, I encourage every viewer who has enjoyed this extended deep dive into the Australian 1-cent coin of 1988 without mint mark in uncirculated condition to consider subscribing for more detailed numismatic content, and by joining the community. You support the creation of long, educational videos that document history, design, rarity, and the art of coin collecting, and I invite you to continue exploring the world of Australian currency with me, because each coin, no matter how small, has a story to tell, and together we can continue uncovering these stories, preserving them and sharing them with future collectors who will carry this passion forward. Thanks for watching.